A reading from the Gospel according to Matthew. When you fast, do not look like the hypocrites, for they disfigure their faces, so that it may appear to men that they are fasting. Truly I say to you that they have already received their reward. But as for you, when you fast, wash your face and anoint your head, so that it may not appear to men that you are fasting, but to your Father who is in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you. Do not lay up for yourselves treasures buried in the ground, a place where rust and moth destroy and where thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourselves a treasure in heaven, where neither rust nor moth destroys, and where thieves do not break through and steal. For where your treasure is, there also is your heart. The eye is the lamp of the body. If therefore your eye be bright, your whole body is also lighted. But if your eye is diseased, your whole body will be dark. If therefore the light that is in you is darkness, how much greater will be your darkness? And now, Reverend McCauley will give us our lesson sermon.
Thank you, David. Good morning, everyone. In today's scripture, we heard some familiar verses from Matthew, chapter 6, which includes the explanation of fasting, in that when you do something to honor the Lord, do it in secret rather than making a spectacle of yourself or making it obvious to others, for the Lord sees you in secret and rewards you in secret. As well, we're also admonished to look to heaven for our spiritual treasure, and that if we do, we will find our heart there as well. A very beautiful idea with which to start your day. Tomorrow, of course, we celebrate Memorial Day, and I thought it would be a good idea for us to take a look at what Memorial Day means to each of us. At each stage of our lives, Memorial Day signifies something different. When you're in school, Memorial Day is the last holiday before commencement and the beginning of summer vacation. It's a gentle reminder that school is just about out for the summer and vacation is just around the corner. When we get older, Memorial Day signifies the unofficial start of summer. The weather is usually pretty good by then, but it's often not warm enough to go swimming. If you were growing up on the East Coast, as I did, I knew it would be too cold to spend the weekend on the beach in Atlantic City, but I would go anyway, just to take a look and see how the beach had survived the winter, and what new construction was taking place, what buildings had been eliminated in the hustle to bring gambling to the ailing city. This was, of course, in the mid-70s. I love to go there in the summertime. I guess that's why I like Los Angeles, because we have wonderful beaches here within easy access. Memorial Weekend is one of those times during the year when the movie channels pull out all the great war films in which John Wayne and all his buddies demonstrate the American ideal, putting aside our personal differences, of uniting for a common cause or goal, and of fighting against a common enemy, overcoming insurmountable odds, reigning victorious in spite of whatever treacherous enemy forces they were facing. Those movies serve as a recreation of historical events to remind us what price our forefathers paid for the freedom we enjoy today. Memorial Day was established to commemorate the United States men and women who perished and gave their lives while in military service for their country. Memorial Day was first enacted to honor Union soldiers of the American Civil War, and after World War I, it was expanded to include casualties of any war or military action. Many people commemorate the day by visiting cemeteries. Picnics and parades are also common on this day. The Indianapolis 500 is run on the Sunday before Memorial Day, and on Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon our time, a national moment of silence is observed nationwide. Those who are connected with wars, either through service or by having a friend, relative, or spouse who served in the war, are connected to this day by their memories and connections with loved ones. For those who have not had a direct connection with the war, this is a good time to take a look at the lessons of history. Certainly, in our studies in metaphysics, we've heard the expression, "Those who do not learn from the mistakes of the past are condemned to repeat them." With this thought in mind, take this opportunity to get to know someone who was connected with a war. Ask them about what they learned, their experience, and so on. Some may not want to dredge up old memories, as they might be too unpleasant to recall, but there are lessons to be learned from the past. Word of mouth is often the best way to learn about history. Visiting museums, reading books, conducting research on the internet are all good ways to acquire knowledge of past events. I recall recently talking with a veteran of World War II who told me about how the first radar units went online in Hawaii just hours before the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor. He said that the units had only been turned on for about an hour or two when planes were detected by the radar, and no one believed the units were working properly because they had so little experience with the equipment. They were apparently not prepared to respond timely. I don't recall hearing that story in school, and I imagine there are lots of stories that don't make it into our textbooks or classrooms. Yet if we just spend time with those who experienced war, there's probably a lot to be learned. Every town in America has memorials dedicated to those who have served their country. Los Angeles has a particularly large cemetery in Westwood, and if you take the time to look, you'll find many such memorials in small and large cities throughout the country. When I moved to the West Coast, the Vietnam Wall had not yet been built on the Mall in Washington. I recall returning to Washington at some point, wandering around the mall, looking for the memorial, not knowing where it was. I wasn't sure of the exact location, but I do recall that as I was walking there, near the reflecting pool, near the Lincoln Memorial, I felt myself entering into a very thick atmosphere of overwhelming grief and sadness. It was almost like walking into a thick, immense spiderweb of emotion, not quite as dense as water, but quite dense as atmosphere goes. I looked up, and there was the Vietnam Wall Memorial. Never had I experienced such a feeling of any monument. It was a very powerful, moving experience. I could feel the massive sadness, grief, suffering, and misery. What about you? What does Memorial Day mean to you? Today, let's take time out from our busy lives and take a moment to express proper gratitude for those who have served our country, those who have died in past wars, for those soldiers stationed throughout the world who have dedicated their lives to protecting our way of life, our beautiful country, and for the sacrifices all these men and women everywhere who give and devote their lives to protecting our country, for their willingness to make sacrifices to us when they are called upon to do so, to leave their families behind, and for us to honor the soldiers who are currently fighting in Iraq, Afghanistan, and soldiers stationed all around the world. Thanks to our soldiers everywhere. So on this beautiful Memorial Day weekend, let's honor soldiers everywhere in whatever way we see fit, by expressing gratitude for all the many sacrifices they've made for us, or whatever is appropriate for your situation. And let me also suggest at the same time that you not forget to take a fresh look at history from time to time so that you can understand the lessons of the past. I chose this morning's Bible verses to remind us to focus our attention on spiritual matters and spiritual treasures rather than being concerned about material goods. Let us remember to give thanks for our country and for so many silent heroes who have given their lives for their country and to protect our freedom, which we all enjoy. I think also a good idea to remember that the Lord sees each of us in secret and rewards each of us in secret. Whatever good works we do, we need not make a public demonstration. God knows and rewards us accordingly. Have a joyous, blessed, gratitude-filled Memorial Day.